years, only the government was supportive enough, rich enough to send young fellows to receive education in a foreign country. But I think the defeat in mainland China gave them a lesson and provided them an opportunity to review, to think what was going wrong. In Chiang Kai-shek's diary, I saw as early as 1947. That was even 2 years before China's collapse. That was with the eruption of the bomb. Chiang Kai-shek, in his diary, he asked, what's going on with planned economy? Why everybody criticizing the control, the command economy? So I think the defeat, the values, served as an igniter, a catalyst for Kuomintang technocrats as well as top leaders to think, to review the economic policies.
And where did they get their training abroad? Where did they go?
Most in America. Mm-hmm. In Europe, Japan, but most in America.
Dr. Kuo, yeah, I think meaningful the old story of Taiwan is a good lessons for mainland China now. The first debate of the planned economy and the market economy have passed maybe 20 years ago in mainland China. But now we have a very important debate in China now. It's foreign trade and foreign currency reform. About K.Y. Yin, he is a key person of the two debates. Gentleman mentioned about his technical training, about his background. I want what his personality, why he want to devote himself to such a reform, personally.
You're right, because look at the leaders of CCP right now. They were all well educated, and some of them even received foreign education. Like Li Keqiang, Li Yuanchao, they used to be trained at Harvard. Li Yuanchao received education in Harvard University. Ying Zhongrong,
he could have done better, but I guess it's
the institution, the system. Ying Zhongrong office was very unique from most of Kuomintang leaders. You know why? Because we didn't have enough time. I could spend a whole day sharing with you my understanding of Ying Zhongrong. Ying Zhongrong, after graduated from Jiaotong Daxue, the communication university, he first served at the Ministry of Communication, but later he went to Song Ziwen. Song Ziwen is 中国建设营公司，中国建设营公司 China Construction Corporation. This corporation was established by TV Song. This corporation was similar to a venture capital. It was probably the first venture capital in China to introduce foreign investment to Chinese market. So Ying Zhongrong worked with TV Song for many years. So Ying Zhongrong worked at TV Song's family enterprises, like this investment company and fertilizer company and some railroad company. And during the war, you know that TV Song was sent to Washington, D.C. by Chiang Kai-shek as Chiang Kai-shek's private representative. Ying Zhongrong also went to Washington, D.C. with TV Song. Ying Zhongrong was then serving at a section chief of the National Resources Committee in charge of land lease affairs. Ying Zhongrong stayed in America for 6 years. So during that 6 years, he eyewitnessed what market economy was about, and he had a chance to get access to a lot of private enterprises functioning, and he was close to many of the private enterprises, private entrepreneurs during the war. And you know, Chiang Kai-shek for all his life, he never liked TV Song. In his diary, he always criticized TV Song as arrogant, selfish, arrogant. Why? Because TV Song probably was the only Kuomintang officials who dared to Yale at Chiang Kai-shek. TV Song trained by Harvard University. TV Song was also very smart, creative, innovative. Many of the cooperation between China and America during the war, the land lease, the loans, the economic aid, military aid, scientific aid, even intelligence cooperation, and the Flying Tiger were produced by TV Song. He's very smart. So TV Song was also a straightforward person. One famous story, in October 1943, Chiang Kai-shek and TV Song, they were having breakfast together. Then an argument erupted. Chiang Kai-shek was very mad, so he collapsed on the table, and the bowls falling down, fell down on the floor. And TV Song was also very angry, but of course he couldn't do the same thing toward Chiang Kai-shek. So he stood up and left the door shut loudly. And TV Song returned to his residence. He broke all the glasses, all those precious glasses, wine glasses, all over the floor. And one of his visitors came and said, "What's going on? Why there's so much glasses on the floor?" He said, "Wow, because Generalissimo yelled it at me, and he broke the bowls, but I couldn't do this, so I could only come home and broke my own wine glasses." But Ying Zhongrong's personality is very much similar to TV Song. And TV Song, after the war, 1950, 1945 and 1947, TV Song was the premier. TV Song had a grand project for economic recovery. TV Song wanted to use state asset to support development of private enterprises. But TV Song was criticized, scolded by many of Kuomintang officials for he had the intention to trying to get illegal benefit for such a behavior. So TV Song's grand project aborted. Ying Zhongrong, who was working with TV Song at the executive yuan, who helped TV Song drafted many of the proposals, support the development of private enterprises.
China needs TYE now.
Yeah, we'll take your two questions and then we're going to have to close. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Kuo, for your talks on this issue. And it reminded me of the debate in mainland in the process of economic transformation, very much similar. But we made it simple by then just conclude that kind of debate by saying, regardless is white cat or black cat, only if it catches mouse, it's good cat. So I would like to make two comments and one question, to ask one question. The first comment is that in the process of economic transformation, in the process of privatization of the national or state-owned enterprises or assets, some people gain, some people lose, and some get corrupted. So I'm very much surprised when you see that the fairly clean administration. That's my first comment. The second one is that in 1960, when Taiwan is ready on the runway to take off economically and to produce a Taiwan miracle, it takes another 20 years for mainland to walk to the runway to formally open up and reform. The second comment. My question is that you briefly mentioned the political reform or the party reform in Taiwan at that time. So my question is, can you briefly introduce a little bit about the political reform at that time, how that kind of reform was made to make it compatible to economic reform? Thank you.
Good question, but hard to answer in a few minutes.
Yeah, it's another seminar or two. Seminar series.
So why don't you go and read our book? There was debate. There was a debate in mainland China. Actually, several debates, but not like Taiwan. In the 50s, Taiwanese were lucky enough to have an open, overwhelming, comprehensive debate. Within the debate, each and every parts of the people, they had the access to express their opinion, pros and cons. And with the conclusion of the debates, and consensus emerged. And with the consensus, government and people of Taiwan together stood firm with the privatization and market economy. So I always urge China to open up its platform for an open debate. China, we all know that it's facing a lot of challenges, serious challenges, and reform is probably unavoidable. But what kind of reform? Which direction? And what about the pace, the speed? How soon, how fast the reform could be? And what is the range of the reform? I think China, at this moment of time, especially needs an open, overwhelming debate about China's future choices.
Yeah, you're not getting it at the moment. Go ahead.
I really appreciate your analysis, especially the role of KY Ying in the reform. Ying Zhongrong in the reform. I wonder that when Mr. Ying and other Xinjiang and other officials decided to transform the economic system, did they have any models for reference, or that is exactly what we call the Taiwan model? You mentioned in your answers, you mentioned that Ying know America very well and the Chinese society very well, but in America, there's no any planned economic system.
That's a good question. Were they inventing a new model, or did they follow some models?
As I just mentioned, that I've been researching Ying Zhongrong for more than 10 years. I read his writings when he was serving as section head of National Resources Committee in Washington, D.C. He wrote about China's textile industry. He wrote about how China would recover its economy after the war. He had a lot of writing and studies about China's economic development. People like Ying Zhongrong, as well as Yan Jiagan, Li Guoding, Chen Chen, they had good education. They are very well trained, not only by Western knowledge, they're also good at Chinese classic teaching. Ying Zhongrong, Yan Jiagan, they were fluent in writing poems. They could just stood up and write a poem in 3 minutes. Ying Zhongrong, if you just Google or Baidu, you will know Ying Zhongrong's publications. He wrote Guo Yunxian Nianpu. He wrote about Zhen Jizhe. He has he has a profound background for both Western and the Chinese learnings. And the war, the setbacks, especially the defeat, the disaster in 1949, forced them to think hard what was going wrong. I guess that was probably a turning point for them to change or to provide a strong desire to seek for a resolution for China's economic problem.
Well, I'm sorry that we don't have more time, because we could go on for the next couple hours. The history is so fascinating and so instructive. I do want to thank our colleagues from the Taipei Economic and Cultural Office in San Francisco for supporting our program again this year. Li Fang, it's been a pleasure working with you. And Dai-jun, thank you for your many years of friendship and advice to our program, and for presenting such a fascinating seminar to us. And of course, Ramon Myers. And Xiao Tinglin, who helped us for a number of years and continues at Hoover. Thank you very much, and I hope you can join us on November 29th.